Welcome, everyone, to this regular council meeting of the Grand Haven City Council for Monday, July 21st, 2025. Would you please call the roll?
Fritz?
Here.
Lowe?
Here.
McLaughlin?
Here.
Manetza?
Here. Do we have anyone doing the invocation this evening? All right, well then we'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This evening we have one new appointment. Would you please read that?
Item A, appoint Ryan Miller to the Parks and Recreation Board with a term ending June 30th, 2030.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Any questions on this appointment? If not, would you please call the roll?
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. Thank you. So, Ryan, you can make arrangements with the city clerk's office to take your oath of office whenever it's convenient for you. Okay, thank you. And that brings us to the approval of the consent and regular agendas. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved?
And support?
Motion by Lowe, second by Fritz. Questions, changes, anything to modify the agendas? Not that there's a very long agenda. If not, please call the roll.
Lowe?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. So this brings us to our first of two calls to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3203. Who would like to address council?
Good evening. Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to start off by thanking the city manager for putting me on the pre-planning project weekly meeting. I attended the first one. It was very interesting. One of the topics we talked about was solar on a potential new warehouse project over on Jackson. And also, last week, I attended the BOP directors meeting, and one of the topics Rob Shelley talked about was the results of their survey. And he specifically mentioned that community solar came up over and over again. And that's what I'd like to talk about this evening. I mentioned previously that the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, had major changes during the recent budget bill. And what's happened is that instead of going into the 2030s, it's now being drastically reduced. Residential, it's going to be over very quickly this year, the end of this year. But for commercial, which includes community solar, it goes on until end of June 2026. And that allows some time to get projects started. And I saw on the agenda that Derek's going to do a presentation on Harbor Island. I saw pictures where the coal pile had been scooped out, a lot of material removed, and pictures of a nice surface, which reminds me of, you just need a good surface to put down solar. Right now they've got spirals, sort of like the old wood drills, that you can just drill in and attach your structure to. So I think what we have is probably something that community solar could build on. What we need council and the city administration, I think, to request that the BOP do a little bit of work on it. What sizes are possible? What's the rough time frame for a build? What's the rough cost that would be necessary? The IRA still has up through that end of June date, 30% sort of as the base, but that includes a 10% just for everybody. But if you've got prevailing wages and apprentice it goes up to 30, and then there's 10% if built, if some of the certain amount of parts are built in the USA, and I think that's very possible. Panels, inverters, and racking are built here now. And then there's also 10% for being in an energy community, and we are in an energy community. That means that we had a coal facility in existence, which we did. So there's a lot of potential money there. I think council needs to request a little bit of work here from the BOP. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Who else would like to address council?
Good evening. I have about a 6-minute thing, so I'm hoping I can do 3 minutes here, leave you a cliffhanger, and finish 3 minutes at the end, if that's permissible.
You get another shot at the end of the meeting.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Peter Wilson. I live downtown at 322 North 2nd Street with my wife and 3 kids, in the process of moving to a house we're building over by Lakeshore Middle School. I'm a small fry builder in town, but I've done some projects that have brought benefit to East Town, Center Town, Old Town, and South Town. I've been fortunate to have a track record of positive reaction for my projects from neighbors and city employees alike. I undertake extensive renovation projects to repurpose blighted properties, and profit has never been something I have prioritized over pride in the outcome. I was accused by a zealous developer once of being allergic to money in my project choices. He was probably right, but I represent people in this town who want to make Grand Haven better for our families and our community. The pathway to affordable housing exists in this town if we prioritize help to small builders and homeowners who fix them one at a time over large developers who drive outcomes and receive project awards and added incentives with a built-in edge of size and persuasion. I recently went before the Planning Commission to inquire about the possibility of a short-term rental at the former Rock and Road Cyclery at 300 North 7th Street. This was the only property in Grand Haven to be designated a priority development site by the city planner's office when I bought it. The only one. We weighed commercial options but settled on a 2-unit residential because parking was a limitation and there was not an appetite for flexibility in my discussions. The outcome is a project I'm proud of inside and out. It's an ideal short-term rental as described by the city's own statute. Indoor and outdoor parking on site for both units, residential in appearance and spirit while not being in a residential area to disturb neighbors. Private outdoor spaces, new construction amenities, across the street from a multi-unit short-term condo complex, and access to Centertown shopping districts and downtown walking. Praise was effusive. There was broad agreement that the property was great and the opportunity to connect Centertown to downtown would help the retail growth. However, I was instructed there would be no consideration to any short-term properties in neighborhood mixed-use Centertown zoning. None whatsoever. Not personal to my property, just a hard no on even considering the subject. The prepared response was written by the chair of the planning committee before the meeting or my input was considered. Roll the video if you like. Fair enough. It was never promised to me, and the edict was clear that there would be no consideration to short-term rentals in Centertown. Roll forward to the following month, and the new capstone developed Steinbach Crossing is approved in Centertown 2 blocks away from my little project. It's a biggie. 12 units built over the top of Tendon and Guitar Haven, looking down over a fully residential, small, single-family Old Town Street on Columbus. They are already granted a hard-to-get zoning change to make an old townhouse fall under the land layout. Good for them. Looks nice. At least they're in the same boat as me. No short-term considerations in Centertown, and they did not make that ask any part of their project approval process. A couple months later, the developer who sits on the DDA board is saying that his sale price and buyer market is not what he hoped, and he needs short-term approval. Never mind that they have not broken ground and are not forced to do this thing. I can share that I'm fully spent out and grasping at my own straws. A short-term award for my deserving project would certainly help. Based on my recent experience, it was an easy no answer to this request from the big developer guy. Of course you guys are going to say, no, you said there's no new zoning in Centertown. But not so fast. Here we go.
All
I'll
right.
finish it later.
Okay, get another turn later. Who else would like to address council? If no one, then I'm going to close the call to the audience, and we'll move into our presentation on Harbor Island with Mr. Derek Gatos.
Good evening, Your Honor, Councilmember. Derek Gatos, Project Manager for the city. I have an update for you for Harbor Island. We've got some exciting things to share tonight. Things have been happening behind the scenes and on top of the scenes, actually. So Lars Zoida from HDR, our project manager there, is here to present this update, and then I'll finish up at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
And you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you for inviting HDR and myself, Laura Zoida, the Harbor Island Project Manager, to give this project update. So today, the updates are, we're going to talk about the remedial investigation data collection work plan, our first step into remedial planning. And then we'll highlight the PFAS roadmap that we developed. We'll give you an update on the coal pile update and other activities. And then the reports and documents that are required by the federal rule or the state rule, and where they're housed if you're into light reading. And then some upcoming events to mark your calendar. So I'll start out with, this is a big document that it's a work plan. So it's essentially telling the regulators what we plan on gathering data to start looking at remediation options. If you recall, August of 2024, we submitted a document called Assessment of Corrective Measures. And in that document, we laid out different remediation options. So that document is more of a conceptual. So think of it as maybe a 10%, not even a 10% design. It's just a conceptual of what ideas we have for remediation. So in order to bring these alternatives into fruition and start talking about feasibility, cost, applicability, constructability, we have to kind of gather some information. So our cost estimate is close to what we think the implementation would be. So this document is located in our library. And in this document, we outlined the data collection that we want to implement in 3 phases. So the field work planned for later this summer and fall, which is the phase 1, is we need to do around Unit A3B when the power plant was decommissioned and demolished, and the ash was removed from Unit A3B. There was some road ash that was left around the units, and Eagle had requested that be investigated and make sure that there's no residual CCR. So we have a plan to address that. And then in order to understand the groundwater to surface water interface, how much the groundwater is interacting with the Grand River, we have designed some deep monitoring well and then some borings to see the extent of the clay. We need to see how far the clay in the island and how thick it is. And that would help us design if we need to do any kind of a cutoff between the island and the Grand River. Expansion of the monitoring well network. This would help us in plume definition. And then also the Unit 1-2 ash characterization, and that would help us understanding, how deep, how thick the ash around Unit 1-2 when we get to clean that out. We also is doing some PFAS surface water sampling, and some of the, if you recall, in the our first document for PFAS was called Data Gap Investigation or DGI plan. We had placed some vertical aquifer sampling, which is a fancy word for temporary monitoring wells. And now we want to turn those into permanent monitoring wells in order to collect sampling. One thing also that we will be doing, we will be collecting quarterly samples for a year for the PFAS in order to supplement the data that we had previously. Based on the results of, so this this phase one, we'll be submitting a proposal to implement those, and that should probably in the September council meeting. And then we'll prepare memos, we'll prepare deliverables based on those. And then once we gather the results and do our analysis, we'll start designing phase 2 and 3, which would include could include a pump test. So if we need to do any kind of a pumping of the groundwater and discharging, we need to understand at what rate and what volume we need to do that at. We'll do some bathymetric survey and topographic survey. If you need to do any kind of estimation of cut and fill, ash, that topo map would come in handy. And then groundwater modeling to understand the fate and transport of the contaminants and design our remediation system. We need to perform, these phases. So this work plan was submitted to Eagle, and Derek was, part of the Eagle meeting. It was a very good meeting. There was only suggested edits from Eagle, nothing huge. They agreed with our phasing and our data collection work plan. So the document is included in our library if you'd like to review it. This is located on our roadmap. If you recall, we had a lot of communication to the public about the CCR, kind of where we're at. And because of the CCR rule and the state rule is pretty prescribed on the steps. But PFAS is kind of silent, and we felt like for the public, it is good to understand how we assess PFAS. So we started with a roadmap, and where we're at. We're in the assessment phase. What is the risk levels? There's no drinking water wells on the island. So now the only areas that we'll be addressing with the groundwater to surface water interface. And then we start planning, we start implementing, and then maintaining, and hopefully that's an exit ramp there. So obviously we're still in the early stages here. The coal pile update. So we began in April. Like Jim Hagan said, it's a lot of material is out, and we'll be doing the verification and preparing the report, submitting that to Eagle, and hopefully getting to a point where that area is closed, provided there's no historic ash or anything there. But we should be doing some geoprobe to just verify the removal of coal in that area. We had Eagle on site last Friday, not this Friday, the Friday before. They were happy with the progress. If you recall, we had submitted a revised plan that eliminated dewatering. So Eagle wanted to see, since they approved it, they want to see it in action and make sure that, what they approved is what we're implementing in the field. That provided a huge saving to the city and BLP for really not dewatering and dealing with PFAS. Another update, it was Eagle was on site for a different project, but they came and they visited Harbor Island and our project, and Kent Walters with Eagle was there too, and they visited the coal pile also during that visit. So recent reports and documents, we continue to prepare a report and post them on our website. It's renewharborisland.com under the project resource library. They're divided into different sections, whether it's agency coordination, closure, groundwater. So we post our projects based on that category. So the documents that you'll see that's been updated, we updated the project timeline. We posted the 2024, so we prepare quarterly reports. We did the annual federal report and the annual inspection report. Actually, this will be on the website here in the next 2 weeks. We also did the Q1 groundwater monitoring report. We updated the hydrogeologic monitoring plan. So now, according to the state, we have an approved HMP. So you'll hear that a lot moving forward, because having an approved HMP means that the clocks start ticking for us to, to do the compliance. So we're tracking all those dates based on the date of that HMP. We'll soon be issuing a pressure transducer memo. And what that is early on, because of the variability of the groundwater levels at the island and the interaction with the Grand River, we did not want to rely on just quarterly groundwater levels. We want something more that we have access. So we deployed transducers on the island, and we collect those data. And now we're preparing a memo that describe the results of this study, and then recommendation, because we feel like there's some gap areas. And our original proposal was to hold the study for about a year, but there hasn't been like a huge flooding events, which is, I mean, it's good, but would like to capture some, large flooding events to carry that into our remediation planning. So based on that memo, the recommendation is to, there was maybe 2 or 3 transducers that needed fixing. They were ice jammed, and maybe change the housing of these transducer from PVC pipe to steel pipe. And then move some transducers around and replace them. So that will be posted on the website pretty soon. Upcoming events, we have penciled in Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, from 6:30 to 8 at Central Park Place, our upcoming town hall. So we'll start planning the agenda for the town hall and the logistics, and we'll welcome any feedback or from previous town halls if you'd like to see anything different. And with that, any questions?
Is there any questions for either Derek or Laura?
A lot of stuff here. So what is the, I haven't looked at all these documents, I just saw this. What is the timeline? I mean, honestly,
Well,
we've
with
got
this,
people talking about, putting
Sure.
in solar, and
yep.
I think we're years away, but go ahead.
No, actually, so this this next report or this next work plan that we have to do, you'll see that at your second meeting in August. Should be getting the costs associated with that here about August 1st. We'll take it to their BLP's portion to their meeting in August, and of course to you guys for funding in August for our portion. But really, that plan is about 80 to 90% figuring out how we can remediate this. So
Okay.
the deep well monitoring, is there a clay layer underneath the island that we can attach, let's say a slurry wall to? So those are the types of things. And verifying some things there are some assumptions out there that Eagle wants us to verify. So really, this is the final. There's a little bit of expanding the monitoring wall. There's a couple of the CCR constituents that we can't find seeing the edge of where this is at. So there's a little bit of continued data collection, but really it's figuring out, okay, what's realistic and how that. So the sampling will go, it'll go into mid-2026. But we can start drawing some assumptions on that data in early 2026. So I think by the first quarter of 2026, we'll be actually talking about what are we going to do? You know, what's going to comply with the regulations? What can we afford? You know, and of course, and some of our regulators can't allow us to take cost into consideration. And there's still some ever-changing regulations as well. We just got an update on Friday about the federal rule and some of those requirements. So it's still changing, but we're getting close. That's what I want to say. We're getting really close. And we're going to be working on some of the stuff that we have that we can start making minor assumptions to see how they fit in. But the final keys will come out of this work plan.
Thank you.
And I just pulled in the updated timeline, just to kind of reflect where we're at. So it's on our website, and walks you through where we're at right now, which is, you know, we developed the alternatives and collecting the data. And then by this time next year, we need to start to select that remedy and pull in the community to select that remedy. So I would say that the balance of this year and next year would be, you know, hopefully by this time, like I said, that we're moving towards choosing an alternative. So.
Laura, once we identify what has to be done, what I'm concerned about is obviously the cost of that. And then what is going to be Eagle's requirements on how fast we have to do it. Because at the end of the day, if it's millions and millions of dollars, I don't know what the city's going to do. So how does Eagle take a look at, you know, both time and cost to a municipality that could bankrupt it, be very honest with you.
Right. And, you know, that's something we discuss all the time. And that's where we look at, you know, can we be creative? Because, you know, what you put in front of the regulators, they have to approve based on, you know, protecting the public. So, you know, I know a lot of people in the council sometimes is like we're gathering a lot of data, but that data comes in handy when we have to defend our design. And we have to say, you know, maybe it's better if we break the island into areas. In this area, there's not a lot of contamination. Maybe this area doesn't need to be remediated and not deal with the entire island. So break it up into areas. So that's where, you know, a lot of our work plan now would give us the data to show the regulators that, you know, maybe the remediation is it can be broken up based on the area. I can't speak for Eagle, so I don't know what they would say for municipalities. I mean, at the end of the day, they have to make sure that, you know, contamination is taken care of for the public. But I'm sure, you know, we've been keeping Eagle updated with, you know, with all of our work, and we check with them in every step because we don't want to move fast and not check with them and then have to redo the work. That's the last thing that we would want to do, and that's not in the city's best interest.
Thank you.
Other questions? Karen?
Yeah, Derek, when you first gave some estimates, there was a pretty broad estimate of cost. Are you saying with some of your assumptions and, you know, as you're looking at the proposed remediation, have you refined those numbers a little bit? Will you be coming back to us with a little tighter range than perhaps we've thrown out there
Gets
before?
thrown out there, $40 to $80 million is a big number, right? And it's
Yeah.
a big swing. Yes. You know, I just had an all-day meeting with HDR last week, Thursday. person, and we were going over a lot of that stuff, this stuff, and then the next 2 years. And so kind of foreshadowing what we need to do. So I can't tell you it's going to be in the next 2 or 3 months, but that's actually on the top of our list to consider as we work through this plan. We start gathering data and how that fits into that original estimate, or kind of conceptual. And that was really big picture in 2022, I think it was. So
2023.
23, yeah. We didn't have hardly any data at the time. Now we've got some data, and we're filling some gaps. So hopefully we can start developing those alternatives over the next 6 to 7 months or whatever. We start sharing that internally and work towards that. So yes, we actually just brought out that estimate last week Thursday. We're talking heavily about that. So
Anything else? Mike?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, my question is in regard to the coal pile closure. We've removed material, we've capped the site. Is that cap there intended to remain, or is that potentially going to be disturbed with further remediation?
well, it was just designed as a 3 to 4 inch topsoil layer that we can go grow some grass and keep it from from soil erosion. So the cap is just topsoil. It's not actually clay or anything that's holding it in. But it cleaned up really nice. The stormwater area was our biggest concern. We found a clay layer underneath that. We knew there was some clay there. We didn't know how thick it was in all the different areas, but Eagle was really happy to see that and see what we had. And we're trying to finish that up here the next few weeks. You might see a change order have to come through here and BLP, because in order to get the rest of that coal, we actually punched through that clay layer. It wasn't super thick. So thinking long-term, we might want to fill that area in. It's filling up the groundwater today. And so, yeah, long-term, we might want to do some additional work to help us not create necessarily any undue hardships in the future. So we'll see. It turned out really well so far. Really happy with it. We might want to spend a couple extra bucks. And I don't want to foreshadow whether it's probably BLP money than ours, but it'll have to come through you for me to spend it. So
I guess the point of my question is that roughly 11 acres or whatever it is there for the old coal pile, we're not done. There's
No, this is-
potentially a great deal more work needs to be done on that land.
I don't know how much, looking at all the constituents, and Laura, you can correct me, how much of that coal pile had either PFAS or CCR materials in it. I want to say like either half or 2/3 of the southern half didn't have anything in it. So yeah, some of it might be permanent, or permanent until it's redeveloped, if you will. Some of it on the northern half, absent of the east stormwater area, could be disturbed. So.
Okay. Well,
So yeah, it's just a temporary while we finalize the full remediation.
Okay, that was my concern, is we look at a piece and say, we got this piece done. We can't just wash our hands up and say, we're done with that, let's move on.
No,
Potentially we'll revisit portions of that site,
yeah,
which is, I think that many of us thought that maybe there's a little piece here, we're done with that, we can move on to somewhere else, but the underlying dump and the underlying materials were pretty expansive.
yeah, because the CCR material and the coal cleanup were really two separate things for Eagle. So moving forward with this was our first big step, and
Okay.
it's gone well.
So do we have any reason to believe that there is this clay layer that they're looking for under the island? When they put in the Sims plant, they drove pilings down about 35 or 40 feet.
Yeah, there are reasons to believe it's there. And so they have to, as Laura was describing to me, they have to verify the thickness, the location, the type of clay it is, all that kind of stuff to see whether or not that qualifies as a confining layer.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, well, we've got plenty more to do, but we appreciate the update, and it's good to bring this out to the public so they know that things are moving along, even if it's a relatively slow pace.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I do have one big update that came in late Friday night for you. Ashley and I were emailed by U.S. Rep. Hillary Skolton after hours on Friday that our Renew Harbor Island community, oh my gosh, CPF
CSF,
CSF, yes, community, oh my
congressional
gosh.
spending.
Yeah, correctional spending, that's what it is actually in the fiscal year 2026 Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bill. So we take that as a win, that we are in the funding. It just needs to be appropriated we asked for $2 million, and we were able to secure $1,092,000 for this project. So, yes, that's
We'll
fantastic.
take what we can get.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Every little helps.
And
There's a bunch more
and
behind it.
We have not heard from Senator Peters yet, for that congressional spending request.
And this has to survive some more congressional steps.
Yeah, I think we're just in the appropriations now. We're in it, so
Okay.
good
Well,
news.
They're trying.
Yeah,
We appreciate that.
we absolutely do. So,
Any other questions?
Thank you, Laura.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all the work and all the information.
Thank you.
Eric.
And we'll get to know each other really well over the years.
Moving forward.
All right. Well, that brings us to our consent agenda. Marie, would you read that?
Item A, approve the regular council meeting minutes for July 7, 2025. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $490,586.94. And item C, approve an agreement with the Ottawa Conservation District to perform treatment for black swallow wart on Harbor Island.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Questions or comments on any of these items on the consent agenda?
Is there a total cost to this taken?
So my understanding is that they haven't surveyed the entirety of the island, but based on what they've witnessed treating other invasives, they expect likely a not to exceed $150 in
Oh,
treatment.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's quite low, and Derek can correct me if
All
I'm
right.
wrong.
I didn't realize.
Okay.
It's coffee money.
There you go,
Derek.
really.
since it is an agreement and a contract, our charter says you need to approve it, so.
Oh, that's fine. I was just, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the number of acres wasn't there and the price per acre was, and so we couldn't do the math. We couldn't do the math.
No, and I tried to get that included, but it was such a rush, and they didn't have the numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, we have one item of new business this evening. Would you please read that?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the new event, Airport Fly-In, to take place from August 1st through 3rd, 2025, at the Grand Haven Municipal Airport, and approve overnight camping on city property for participating pilots. Airport Board recommends approval, administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion on this?
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. We have Brian here to explain this to us.
Good evening, Council. Brian Giroux, Waterfront Events Manager. The Grand Haven Airport Summer Fly-In is an aviation gathering scheduled for August 1st through August 3rd to align with the final weekend of the Coast Guard Festival. Pilots from across Michigan will fly into Grand Haven Memorial Air Park. They will camp near their aircraft and enjoy networking, socializing, and evening visits downtown. This event is not open to the general public and avoids any major disruptions, no street closures, amplified sound, food trucks, or food services. Basic amenities will be provided and cleanup is fully handled by the organizer who remains on-site and accessible throughout the weekend. With coordination from multiple aviation groups and careful planning, this event offers a great way for local pilots to get together and enjoy Grand Haven.
All right, any questions?
Yeah, Councilmember McLaughlin and I were discussing the possibility of needing transportation to get them to downtown, and that Harbor Transit only runs a certain amount of times. And a good example is the soccer in the sand, how they promoted it out to the people that were coming, that they're going to work with Harbor Transit. And they had, over 2,000 people they delivered out to the beach, which was unbelievable. But if you're going to have a fly-in and you still want to have them be part of the town and they want to come in, there's no transportation. So if they could figure out a way of getting them from the airport and having this all coordinated.
I'm fairly certain a couple of the organizers are really local, and they said they would have their vehicles and I think there was going to be a couple bicycles involved. But it sounds like they had a pretty good plan together.
Very good. We just want to make sure that they get transportation, because as I mentioned before, is that I had a guy fly in from Germany because we had fuel here, but he couldn't get to his place he was renting because there's no transportation for him, so. But I just want to make sure that they have something for him. I'm glad they're looking into that then. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue at the airport, let's be honest. There's just no way for people, if they fly in, to get from,
Yeah, there's no complimentary car there.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that we should look into, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Karen?
No.
Their anticipated attendance is something like 10,
Yeah, right around
so it's a
there.
small event.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if they need to, they can get the organizers to move them around, but the point is well taken, that here we have a transportation hub to which there is no transportation.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's worth looking into. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes,
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. That concludes our new business for the evening. That brings us to our report by City Council. Who would like to go first?
I just wanted to, I was at a Harbor Transit meeting, and just wanted, I know you were on WAWL. Harbor Transit did get final approval on the NEPA.
Good.
So they are all ready to go. We approved a construction manager at our last meeting. The design firm is already working. So when they, hopefully the construction and the design will get together, because nothing but change orders comes as a result of it if that doesn't happen. But that is moving ahead, and they'll definitely break ground early next year.
Good news.
Very good.
No, don't start. Go ahead.
Sure, I'll go. It don't matter. I happened to stop by the splash party. What a phenomenal thing, I tell you what. Cannot believe all the kids and even the grown-ups, I even got soaked. They were sitting over there with the remote control over there, kind of like inching it over slowly but surely. They got me, but it was good. I had a fun time there. For the short time I was there, I really enjoyed it. Other than that, I was downtown on Saturday, and I could not believe it looked like it was Coast Guard time downtown. It was unbelievable. Rock the Coast, it was a good turnout for that, and the people downtown, it was just, I'm glad to see all the involvements going on down there, and plus Nora with their stuff they have, and everybody else has been putting on, and Mike with his books and his readers down there. It's been filling it up pretty good, so I just want to say it looks great. I'm glad to see a lot of people down there.
Thank you, Mike. Are you done?
Yes.
Kevin says I'm done.
We knew what the rest was. Karen?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone who came out for Nora's big fundraiser, Northwest Ottawa Recreation Authority, which was last Tuesday evening. And a special thanks to Council Member McLaughlin, who showed up with many family members. So I really appreciate that. As many of you know, Nora is partially funded by the area municipalities, but that's not the complete funding. And like so many organizations, they require, in order to not turn away any child, and they don't turn away any child based on ability to pay. They have about a $10,000 gap that they have to come up with in terms of fundraising. And last Tuesday night, thanks to Councilmember McLaughlin and some of the many other people that showed up, we got to 7,600, so we're almost there. We need to get a little bit more, but I wanted to say thanks to everyone in the community who came out to support Nora.
Okay, thank you. Excellent cause. I don't have a whole lot to report this evening, so I just attended several meetings this past week. But we're coming up on Coast Guard Festival, starting later this week, so brace yourselves, it's coming. And it'll be great, and then it'll be over, so. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an excellent festival. We're going to have a lot going on, a lot of guests in town. And so that's all I got.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay. Well, that brings us to our second call to the audience. At this time, Members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Please give us your name, address. You're limited to 3 minutes of speaking time.
Peter Wilson, 322 North Second Street, here to finish my story. We left off in that I had a very worthy project in Centertown that was well received, but there was to be no new consideration for short-term rentals in Centertown. That was pretty firm. A developer rolls in, has a project that's much bigger, does not ask for short-term, pleads after the fact for a cost basis need for short-term, and has not even broken ground, and here we are. There's an obscure Centertown overlay that allows for 100% lot coverage and 40-foot building height in a small area. A couple of the developer and building owner properties were further conveniently added to this old overlay to sweeten it up. This overlay has nothing to do with the use of the property and only addresses height and density. It is specifically this height, density, and commercial look that is not encouraged in the short-term statute. But somehow this area was selected. We are being told that this decision is not to benefit any landowner or developer specifically, but to be an unbiased look at what is best for the future of Centertown and Grand Haven. This doesn't pass any smell test. There are 4 current and future plan phases to this project that eerily correspond to the list of eligible short-term properties on the map. Primary landowners, developers, and architects on the project sit on either the planning or the DDA commissions that put this thing in motion. There are a couple more of the selected addresses that correspond to other owners on the DDA or planning commission. This thing looks bad. This looks like a profound case of inside baseball and self-dealing. More importantly, this does not align with the Centertown Vision Plan of 2014, the statute for what kind of property should be a short-term rental, or the practical use of tourists who would soak it up. Upper story units with stacked parking lifts to get around the parking statute. Tourists are going to learn to use stacked lifts instead of parking on the street anywhere they can? Really? There's much more to understand here. The selected team to define the area and guidelines was just formed on June 15th. This followed a joint planning DDA meeting to set this in motion on April 30th that is not yet in the public record. Within a month, the guideline is created and approved by the Planning Commission on July 15th. There's no more planning, DDA or Centertown meeting opportunities before the City Council vote. It is rushed and ready for City Council to approve it all on August 4th. Nothing happens that fast in this city. This thing has a real odor. I just learned that the city is hiring a consulting firm to review what is best for Centertown and look at the vision plan of 2014 with fresh eyes. A well-conceived plan on the city planning website that focuses on the key Washington 7th Street development that looks nothing like the short-term map what we're going for. I'm talking about the 2014 plan here. The city goal is to have hired consultants to be working on this by September. That's great and wonderful, and I support this wildly. Let's see what they say. There should be no vote on anything this consequential that cannot be easily unwound without that perspective in hand. Otherwise, why would the city spend the time and money to commission this? Respectfully, the current board has a missing seat and 2 exiting members. The Centertown update is coming soon. No vote of this consequence should take place until this can come to light. I would like to take this vote off the August 4th agenda and allow us the opportunity to learn and understand this a little better and answer some of these questions that are just now being asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
And I do have some background information on what I was laying out there, and if anybody would like to grab a set for review after the meeting,
You
you're more
can,
than welcome to.
you can leave that with the clerk if you like.
Okay.
Who else would like to address council?
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to thank Councilman McLaughlin for his investigation on the Harbor Transit site. It's absolutely correct. They're going to start construction on first quarter. It's going to be done by 2027. Brent Clark's his newsletter outlined a great vision. Why don't we move our campus over to that location? There's 2.3 acres where Harbor Transit is. There's a lot of buildings that can be reused. I think it's fantastic. Let's move public safety. Let's move City Hall. I think we need a master plan looking at what we're going to do with the city. We've been sort of piecemealing it, and that shouldn't be happening. Let's set aside some time, do a master plan, and think about moving there. The other item is on remediation. The solar field has 22-foot spacing between the rows. A typical skid with pumps and the vessels for remediation can't be wider than 14 feet. That's all you can put on the road. It can't be higher than our bridges, which again is not terribly high. A 14 by 14 cube is pretty much all you can ship. So, saying that, we need to wait until remediation, we've described it all, we don't. If an area is clean, it doesn't have the PFAS, it doesn't have things that need to be dug up again, it's fine. Let's put in some solar. Let's do community solar. 22 foot is plenty of room for as many skids as you want to put on that island and as many roads as you want to run to those skids for unloading vessels. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? In that case, I'm going to close the call to the audience. And at this time, council is going to entertain a motion to go into a closed session for the purpose of a personnel evaluation. So I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin to go into closed session. Would you please call the roll?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. So when we come back out of closed session, we'll come back out, close the closed session, and adjourn the meeting. So there's no further business this evening beyond that. So thank you all for being here.